Time again, last call with Redmont Vodka. We sit down with a different celebrity. Look who is in the house, T.J. Miller.
It's me, T.J. Miller, vodka drinker only before noon.
Yeah, it's, what time is it right now?
It's 10:35.
10:35. That's not bad. I mean,
Yeah,
people.
that's exactly right.
If you're going to drink a liquor in the morning, I say vodka.
It has to be vodka because otherwise people go, "Are you drunk with vodka?" You can be like, "No, I just had it early morning."
We've done these shower thoughts before, like. You can, if you drink anywhere at 8 a.m. in the world, people think you're an alcoholic. But if you're sitting at a TGI Fridays in an airport, nobody says shit.
Not at all. That is a shower thought that I've had before. I think what is hilarious.
Cheers, by the way. Good to see you, brother.
Yeah, so this is Charles Barkley's vodka.
Yeah,
scene?
Charles Barkley is the face behind Redmont Vodka. You know, he's a Birmingham guy, grew up in Leeds, played at Auburn, and then went on to...
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so yeah, he wants to bring back to the community, so he's got a bunch of employees, and this is his vodka. And they took it, they got a new master distiller, Jonathan, who does a great job with it. It's 8 times distilled, gluten-free. It's a good product.
It's great. It really is.
And I'm going to send you home with some.
Thank you. I prefer vodka with gluten, and I want to just shout out to everybody who does. And so if you're drinking a nice higher-end vodka like Redmont Vodka, and it's gluten-free, you can just put some bread in there. And so that's what I'll do. I'll dip a French roll or a dinner roll, and then I'll mix it up. And then so it's a gluten experience. You know, I want gluten heavy, not gluten free.
So when I first saw you, I've seen you twice, and I'm looking forward to seeing you tonight at the Comedy Club Stardom, 444-0008, stardom.com.
Wow, God, he's a fucking professional. Did you see that? Jesus Christ.
But you were doing all this weird...
I feel like he just had sex with me through my ears using numbers. You see how quickly he was able to do that?
You were doing all this weird stuff, and then I find out you studied the circus arts in Paris. What's a typical day of studying circus arts in Paris?
You get on stilts, and you try not to fall off. It's very few people ask me about this, but yeah, I was stilt walking, and then trapeze. I can't do trapeze. And I had a really interesting experience that now relates to what, because you mentioned we want to try that bourbon, if we're going to be able to get into the official bourbon.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll do a little chicken cock in a minute.
Yeah. I've heard that before on the way here. I heard that on morning television. When we got off the air, the female anchor was like, "We got a little chicken cock." And I said, "What?" She goes, "Never mind, I'm not going to do it." I prefer rooster dick, but I kind of I used to.
Did you try the trapeze though?
So I used to try and do the trapeze, but the only thing I could do was stilt walking. And so you're doing these circus arts, and it is kind of like get up there and see if you can not fall down.
And most people just bust their ass, right? I mean, the good news on trapeze, you got a net, but stilts, you just bust your ass.
Not in the beginning. They don't do it when you just are trying to get up and sit on it. There's no net. They're just like, I can't imagine you're going to fall off of this. And then you do, and then they say, we're going to move on to stilts permanently. But I was just laughing about how there's a circus arts kind of thing in New York City. I live in Manhattan. And I went in and I said, I used to be on the trapeze, like this circular thing that you guys use. And she goes, that's not a trapeze. And I go, yeah, no, I know. I'm saying, like, I was on trapeze. She's like, this is called an infinity loop. And I was like, okay, I don't ever want to come here again. But I had that experience in Birmingham last night. I went to Dave & Buster's for a drink at the end of the night, like a regular adult with no children, okay? And I got there, and I said, she goes, what do you like? Do you like bourbon? I go, do you have any Jim Beam? She goes, yeah, but that's not bourbon. And I was like, yeah, I didn't say that it was. And she goes, or no, I go.
Wait, somebody at Dave & Buster's said this?
Dave & Buster's, no, you know what it is? I said, I like a scotch, but was that Jim Beam? She goes, yeah, but that's not a scotch. That's bourbon. And I wanted to say to her, okay, can I also have some tokens for the hoop shoot? Like, what are you talking about? Why do you have to make me feel bad about scotch versus bourbon? And I realized it's a Birmingham thing, man. You guys don't mess around.
Yeah. We're supposed to be friendly, but look what happens.
You are friendly,
okay,
and you're very funny, and you're very cultured. But when push comes to shove, you'll say what the fuck is on your mind.
True. Hey, look, I got to ask you this before I forget. It's the last call with Redmont Vodka. T.J. Miller, actor, comedian's in. So
first call, 10:35 a.m.
My 16-year-old son. I let him watch anything. His favorite movie is Wolf of Wall Street, which is bad parenting probably on my side. But when I got a divorce from Mom 7 years ago,
you got to play the cards that you have.
Yeah.
You got to say you can watch.
So he wanted me to ask you this. What is it like? And he says it's one of the more underrated Christmas movies is Office Christmas Party. And so there's two things out of that. He wants to know what it's like to wrestle Jennifer Aniston. And then is Jason Bateman really a cool dude? Because Bateman is one of these guys that seems like anything he does, he's so comfortable doing it.
I prefer wrestling Jennifer Aniston than wrestling Jason Bateman.
Yeah, I get that.
I think he doesn't have quite the upper body strength that she does. But no, it was amazing because she's like really cool. And you kind of don't know, you sort of expect it. But you never know with celebrities. And so I said to, the first thing I said to her, I go, let's get this out of the way. Do you contractually have to drink smart water? And, because she does and she said...
Does she fly Air Emirates too?
She said, yeah, right. she said, yeah, I am. But, don't tell anybody, but I prefer Fiji. And so it's so funny because that's kind of quickly she's saying, like, I'm cool, it's cool.
Icebreaker.
Yeah, exactly. And so she was great. And then Bateman was like, he's a weird dude, but he's so funny. And you're right, they'll tell him to do anything and he'll say, okay. And the thing I'll never forget is, there's a scene where he and I are talking at the very beginning of the movie, and all he has to do is say, you sure about that? That's the only line. And then he did it he's like, okay, can you just roll? And they go, yeah. And he did it like 15 times and just very tiny little different ways, and all of them were funny. But he was able to just be like,
was that when you guys...
You sure about that?
Were y'all walking over the bridge in Chicago?
You sure about that? It's when I'm wearing a bear costume and he comes in.
Yeah.
It's a Christmas movie,
No, yeah.
But he was able to really do just the tiniest little changes, and each of them were funny. And then when he was done, he was like, okay, we got it. And everyone just starts cracking up.
Dude, but like you asked, and I wonder if it was improvised, like some of the questions you asked, I used to ask when I was like a teenager. No offense, but I mean, I think you were kind of playing that mentality.
A lot taken. I mean, I'm pretty
You were like, if you hit that bridge, and ultimately it comes back in the movie, going a certain amount, and I'm just doing this off the fly because I hadn't seen the movie since Christmas. That and Bad Santa are my favorite. I watch them every Christmas. But you're asking these questions on the fly. It's like he's trying to be serious about something, about the company, and you're floating around and asking these questions. Was that improvised?
Yeah, some of it, ADHD is something that I have, and so I bring that into the characters sometimes. You kind of do too, I can see.
Yeah.
I'm trying to impress Jason Bateman. He's like, wait. So, the bridge thing comes back later in the film, but I also sort of...
You do your own stunts too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You and Tom Cruise.
This is off camera, but when I came in, I jumped over a chair. And I fell off of a trapeze right before I came in here. I did all those stunts myself. I'm hurt right now. And that's why we're drinking this.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Chicago, so after you graduate college, George Washington, 2003,
really
I think.
Something else, yeah. He's just talking about, he goes, were you sort of floating around? That was like me when I was a teenager. I would sort of, I think you're still kind of doing that.
I am all over the place. TJ Miller, Last Call, Redmont Vodka. Good stuff, right?
You're
going to leave it as much as you want to.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can take multiple bottles. Yeah, you don't even have to sneak it out. It's yours.
I don't have to sneak it. It's not as much fun if you can sneak it out.
But after college, you go to Chicago, and you hook up. You go to study, or you're trying stand-up, and you get involved in Second City, which... If you're an entertainment guy,
professional.
If you're an entertainment guy,
he's got cue cards up there.
If you're an entertainment guy, everybody talks about SNL, but Second City, that's where people are really doing the core hard, really good comedy. It's not necessarily mainstream. I mean, John Candy was one of my favorites. He cut his teeth there.
And it's Second City then went on. People went from Second City to Saturday Night Live. And when I went to Chicago, I went to study improvisation. So you asked, do you improvise a lot in films? Almost everything. And if you come and see my stand-up, it's like a lot of people will quote lines from films, and almost always they're ones that I improvise, because you can tell that's me. And then if you see my stand-up comedy, I have a special called Dear Jonah that I did in Nashville, Tennessee. And I was a special where I was going to talk about the pandemic, and then this guy interrupts me in the front row. And I thought it was this drunk heckler. And I go, oh my God, I'm filming a fucking special. So I go, okay, you know what? Just ignore him. He's going to be quiet. And the dude keeps talking, but it's a weird heckling. He was like, no, that's true. Yeah, I've had that experience. I'm like, it's kind of helpful. So finally I said, all right, I got to deal with him. I go, look, you're wearing cargo pants. What's your cargo? And he launches into this thing about how he likes cargo pants. He doesn't put anything in them, but he likes them. He likes the way they feel. And so that's why he wears. And then it becomes clear he's not drunk. He's developmentally challenged, right? And so there's that moment where the audience is like, what is TJ going to do? And I said, I just want you guys to know I am not going to make fun of this guy at all. And people laugh and the tension released. And then the whole show, I keep talking to him and I incorporate him into the and so it's called Dear Jonah. His name is Jonah, and I'm performing there this weekend, and he's coming back. He was the first person to buy a ticket the first time I got back.
Legitimately, so that wasn't the premise of the show at all.
It had nothing to do with the special.
Where can we find that special?
It's on YouTube right now. It's streaming, and it's like...
Dude, that is
amazing.
Awesome.
It's amazing because and if you come and see me at the Stardome, if you see me do stand-up live, it's almost completely improvised because I started at Second City. That's what I love doing, and I love having people walk away from a show and be like, Jesus Christ, was that all made up? I guess we're the only ones that will ever see that, and you are.
Well, and that's what I love about your shows is I've seen, and I've gone to back-to-back shows.
This is really good vodka.
8 times distilled, gluten-free, Redmont Vodka. I've gone to shows, and it's the same thing. Like, if they do a 7:30, a 9:30 show, it's the same thing. You're all over the place, which I absolutely love. And that's what, some of the times, though, I don't know if I can believe you or not. Like, I hear things about you. Your Saturday Night Live audition, was that legitimate? Did you bring beer and a bag of goodies in?
Yeah, but here's the thing. I thought we're all auditioning for Saturday Night Live. We should celebrate. So I brought these beers to be like, you guys, we did it. We're auditioning for Saturday Night Live.
Everybody had their balls in their throat. They were scared to death, right?
And so I didn't realize that. I didn't get it because by that time I was doing film and television. So to me, Saturday Night Live was like, we get to audition. And I didn't understand that everybody there was like, oh my God, like if I don't get this, my life is ruined. So it was not a party atmosphere, and they did not appreciate me bringing a party attitude. And
it's a beer.
It's a beer, but it's also let's celebrate, let's relax.
At their rap parties, they do nothing but blow, right? And even back in the 70s, they were doing heroin, and you bring a beer to audition, and that's the hypocrisy.
That's the other frustrating thing is I feel like I hit Hollywood right when it had been corporatized. We talked about this, about how when you're working, because radio is all improvisation, right? Yep. So you guys are improvisers.
But scared to death because of FCC regulations and now the cancel culture.
And so I kind of hit Hollywood when it got corporate. And they sort of were like, you can't smoke weed in your trailer. And there's no drinking when you're on the set. And, and then in Silicon Valley, though, I played a serious stoner.
Which, by the way, the first 4 seasons, and I want to tell you this. First time I saw you, I think it was 2017. I went home. I had never seen Silicon Valley. You get the role in 2014. You had the incubator for all of the nerds there. Yeah. Your character was incredible. And when you left after season 4, the shit, and I'm not just saying this, I think a lot of people have said this publicly, that final season of Silicon Valley was shit. And it's comedy is so hard to do and make a good product. And it was one of my top 5 comedies of all time, but that final season was awful, and a lot of it had to do with the fact you weren't on it.
I love that you say a lot of people say that publicly. They also say it privately sometimes. We're going to talk about it in the car, okay? But I thought that I sort of decided to leave because I was like, television shows don't get better in their 5th, 6th, 7th season. They just, by the 7th season, they call it jumping the shark. But I left, and I didn't think, it's going to... I figured I was doing other stuff. I wanted to do stand-up. I wanted to live in New York with my wife because I enjoy her company. And
that's good, by the way.
It's an important part of it.
It really is.
And so I said, okay, when I leave, they'll be able to build up the main character is going to be able to do more physical comedy. And I don't know. I didn't really watch, but it just sort of didn't gel exactly. But on that... one of the reasons I left also is I was starting to go on autopilot, and a couple of times I'd go, I might as well just smoke weed because my character is supposed to be high.
Dude, you're in the desert doing peyote.
I might as well just get high when I come into work, and that's when I was like,
was that certain producers or was that all of Hollywood? Because I would think that there's some people grandfathered in, and I'm thinking some old actors that really party.
I'm not saying it's happened, but like. A Michael Bay.
If Snoop Dogg does a shitty film, he's going to smoke weed.
Yeah, well, I went on his show and smoked weed with him. He can do whatever he can smoke weed whenever he wants. But yeah, like Michael Bay, some of these guys, I feel like there's no room for corporate cancel culture. That it's like you're making a huge movie. There's $300 million is the budget. let's just get it done and stop worrying about who says what or who's doing what. Let's get it done. And everybody's working towards the same thing, which is to make something great. So there isn't a lot of time for people to be saying, what did you say to me? What did you mean by that? Or it's like, let's just relax and get it done, you know? It's interesting. You're right. It kind of, it's pretty buttoned up.
Do you talk to any of the guys from Silicon Valley? And the reason I bring this up, and this is one of my weird swing tangents, but the dude that played Richard Hendricks, a complete nerd, and I thought they did a great job.
Thomas Middleditch, yes.
Middleditch. I have heard, do you know what a pineapple symbolizes in the swinger world?
Yeah, right?
Is he not a swinger?
Do you put that?
You put it like on your doorstep or some shit, or your
grocery cart?
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know if it's legit or not, but I heard he is like an open swinger. Have you heard that?
It hasn't been working for me, but I was.
They didn't invite you guys over for dinner, did they?
I was using mangoes, and mangoes wasn't really a swinger thing. It's just guys come over and try and take your shoes. It was a different time. It was a different time. He came out publicly and said that swinging saved his marriage, and I think that they're divorced now, actually. But he said that swinging saved his marriage, and I never really understood
banging other girls, that typically doesn't save the marriage, right?
It doesn't always do great for the sanctity of the marriage when you're having sex with another girl. And he said in the Playboy article, you know, who knows? Because
is he really a nerd, though? I mean, he seems like a nice guy, but he seems like a nerd.
He's a nice guy. He's actually a cool guy. But yeah, he had some nerdy tendencies. He was one of these guys, and I read about this much later because I was doing stuff in the metaverse before the crypto winter. We'll talk about that. Never. And so he was one of these guys who loved doing these flight simulators. And I go, oh, that's cool. So it's like dog fighting in World War II. He's like, no. And I was like, what do you do? He goes, you'll fly from like, Erie, Pennsylvania to Chicago. And I'm like, really? And he'll go, yeah. And then recently I did San Diego all the way to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? And he's like, just flying one of the planes. It's like flying a real plane. And I was like, is that interesting? He's like, well, mostly you're just sitting there. I'm like, what are you doing?
Why don't I take flying lessons?
People go crazy for this thing. He loves it, and he did. He ended up taking flying lessons, but he would spend hours just making these fake commercial flights. And I'm like, what is interesting about that? I have no idea. And then I think I don't know if he bought a plane, but he did learn how to fly. I have a buddy who can fly. He got his pilot's license.
Do you trust him enough to fly with him?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I would never fly with him.
If he's the whole time he's there, he's got a pineapple on the back wing, trying to find some of that swinging hot airborne sex. Mile High Club with multiple members.
Oh, TJ Miller, it's Last Call Redmont Vodka. He likes the vodka. Charles Barkley is going to love that you like his vodka. It's 8 times distilled. It's gluten-free. See,
I would like a gluten edition, Charles.
I'm about to refresh us. Yours was straight, though. I'm a poon. I mix mine with one of our fine sponsors, Sprite, which I like a lot.
I do like poon. I'm going to start using that more in mixed conversation.
Please do.
I'm going to say, excuse me, miss, I hate to be a poon, but can you tell me, is there a gym in the hotel? I'm not going to use it. I just wanted to, I hate being a poon about it.
Just don't get canceled. 2010, you said your best role ever.
A poon!
No,
I don't think I've ever heard that.
Ranger Jones in Yogi Bear. I don't know if this is legitimate or not. I think you guys filmed in New Zealand.
No, it is.
That's your best work ever.
That's, I think, the best thing that I've ever done.
What's New Zealand like?
I'm going to send an audio message to my mother. Hello, Mother. I hate to be a poon, but I haven't spoken with you in a little while, and just didn't want to put it out. So give me a call back when you can. I'm here drinking Redmont Vodka. Okay, with Lance. We're being a couple of poons. I guess that's really what's happening. So give a call and hey, look, I don't want to be a poon too soon, but give me a ring.
Hey, Mom.
Okay.
Okay, so the work really is Ranger Jones. I got to admit, I've never seen Yogi Bear. I saw it as a kid.
You haven't?
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I have to prove that I just did this. Otherwise,
I saw it. I mean, I believe you. But yeah, there you go.
I hate to be a poon, but I haven't spoken with you in a little while, and just didn't want to put it out. So give me a call. I 100%. First of all, I'm not going to erase that because I'm sure she'll call and be like, "Don't worry about being a poon. Everybody can be a bit of a poon every now and then. No one can poon too soon." I loved my performance in Yogi Bear 3D as Ranger Jones so much that when I hosted the Critics' Choice Awards the second time, I gave myself the award for Best Supporting Actor in a Talking Bear Comedy. You can look that up online. That is really something. Because as the host, you can give awards. And I was like, why not give myself an award? And I was up against 3 other video feeds of me. So
Can I
was the
go
only
deep on this
who's been
one?
nominated.
Can I go deep on this? So you're filming in New Zealand.
Let's do it.
A cerebral malformation of your right frontal lobe. You couldn't sleep. You're kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
You go see a neurologist and you have to get a procedure done, but there's a 10% fatality rate. Is this legit?
It is. So it's called an AVM. It's an arteriovenous malformation, and it ruptured. It's basically my brain didn't form correctly. So there was like a golf ball sized piece of my brain that
Do people
just
say this is
didn't
why you're
work.
fucked up?
Well, what happens is I have to think faster because I have less brain matter than you or most of you guys. Yeah, most people in the room. And so it hemorrhaged and they had to remove it. And yeah, they said, 1 out of 10 people die from this procedure. And I said, well, what happens if you don't do it? Sure. What happens if you don't do it? And they said, well, you'll probably die in your mid-30s. And I said, let's roll the dice. You know what I mean?
You fucked up your mid-30s.
I'm a Birmingham.
You're early 40s now, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm a racetrack type of guy, OTB. So I said, let's gamble. And I won because I'm here right now drinking gluten-free.
By the way, that is straight vodka right there.
Yeah, it is, man. I'm loving it.
Hey, what's it like playing Mucus? You were Lucas and Mucus, Musinex?
Yeah, I never knew that his name was Lucas.
Yeah,
but
it's
I kind of
Lucas.
like that.
So I've got this jacket, and every time I wear it, people dog me out in our chat room. They're like, he's wearing that fucking Mucinous jacket again.
Really?
And I always think of TJ Miller.
Yeah, I told this story recently. I talk about it on stage
Cheers
sometimes.
again. Second one before 11 a.m., right?
Cheers. Second one. Yeah, we're doing it. We got 3 minutes to finish these, throw up, and get back in the studio. So I love this story. So I was at CVS, and I was talking to Kate. We're having a pretty intense conversation.
Kate's his wife, by the way.
Yeah, Kate, she's my wife. She's great, magnificent. Really, really, yeah, that's how I describe her. Beautiful, brilliant, magnificent. And she said to me, just a side tangent, as I know you're into.
Yeah, I love
She
it.
said, well, what if other girls try and kiss you while you're on the road? And I said, well, I wear 2 wedding rings. I mean, that's the max amount of wedding rings you can wear, you know? And I like talking about that because some guys don't wear a wedding ring. They always have a reason. They're like, it gets in the way where I'm working, you know? Or I just don't like how it feels when I'm having extramarital sex or whatever. And she said, that doesn't matter. Some women see a wedding ring as a challenge, right? Home wreckers. So what I did, I started wearing one of these AirPod cases that clips on to your belt loop like that. You see that?
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
dangles down. She was like, yeah, nobody wants to fuck that guy. I don't think so. Yeah, I did it. Okay, so I did a European tour. You're going to hear some of this tonight because it's all true.
Bring it.
I did a European tour, and I opened with this joke because I was like, will that work? You know, would that work in other countries? Every single country. I did it in France, Scandinavia. I did it in fucking Estonia. I did it in Estonia, a place where none of us know where it is.
Where
or if
is
they have
Estonia?
enough. Do they have enough bread is my concern. And if they don't, let's send them the gluten edition of the Redmont Vodka. Triple, quadruple distilled. 50 times distilled.
Yeah.
And so I opened with this, every single country, and everyone loved it. So you know what that means? That means that this thing is universal. No one in the world wants to fuck this guy. That's a real thing. Everywhere people are like, yeah, that's fucking yikes. In Estonia, they were like, you don't know where we are, but don't bring that thing back in. Oh my goodness gracious. And so I was in CVS, and I was talking to Kate, and I'm talking, and this woman like leans in, and then I see her and she like vanishes. Then I'm talking, and then she'd run around to the other side of the aisle, and I look, and she's leaning in, looking at me, and I see her, and she and runs away. I go, what is going on? This is the strangest thing. Then I get off the phone, turn, she's right there in front of me, and she goes, that was the strangest thing. And I said, what? And she goes, I was in the other aisle buying Musinex, and I heard the booger talking. And I didn't know if it was one of those ads where you press the button and the booger talks, but I couldn't find it. And so then I kept looking to see if somebody sounded like the booger, but it's you. You're the booger. It was you the whole time. And then she walked away. I never saw her again. But here's the conversation I was having with Kate. So
were you honestly sober at this point, or?
No, I'm not sober now.
No,
at that point,
you were
yes.
then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look how disappointed he was. He's like, oh, God. Well, can we stop this story sooner rather than later? But I was on the phone with Kate, and I was talking about this guy. I go, well, he's a fucking piece of shit. So tell him to go fuck himself, or just know that you work with an asshole. So that's what she heard the Musinex booger saying. So she must have been like, whoa. Musinex took a real left turn with their marketing. Yeah, wow, they fucking hate NyQuil. They fucking hate NyQuil. That's a story I can do on your show.
Yeah.
But I can't do on morning television at WRVRZDE, Birmingham, Alabama.
Because you're so outspoken, and look, I know people have tried to cancel you before, and I am like so against that, because once the true stories come out, nobody ever talks about them.
You're being a poon about it.
Well, no, other people are being a poon about
Other
the
people
fact.
are pooning at us.
It's a fucking poon nation, right?
Poon off.
So when
Two poon? Was that two poon for me to bring up?
have you lost good roles because of bullshit like that?
You know, here's the thing.
Because I would say you're a good actor.
So, thank you.
You
very
are, man.
much.
Fucking
Thank you.
weasel. I didn't want
Thank
to watch Deadpool. Little man made me watch Deadpool. Thought it was a little over the top.
Really?
But your performance was good. I'm not a big Ryan Reynolds guy, and I know you,
neither am I. But that's all we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is not something that will make it its way to India Daily News. What we're here to talk about is that I think there's nothing good about cancel culture. But I went to this Vegas comedy festival called Skank Fest, and it's like
you gotta explain
all
this.
so it's all these New York comics who are great, and it's kind of anti-establishment, anti-cancel culture.
because you guys should not be able to be canceled. I am 100% behind that. Comedians, you're an outlet.
Say
If
whatever
you
you
walk
wanna-
in, you know what you're getting into.
Because it's a joke.
Right.
It's just a joke. So in this case, we all go out there, and I mean, it was fascinating to me. It's a bunch of comics that are younger comics that are sort of New York, Mark Norman, Shane Gillis, Big J. Okerson, Louis J. Gomez, all these people. And then the people that showed up, other comedians, Roseanne came, Ron White came, Jamie Kennedy came, and these are all legends of comedy who, Roseanne most of all.
Have you seen her lately, though?
She got canceled. They took away her show, tried to make, I mean, it's insane to me that
They changed the name of the show.
They changed the name of the show. And the thing is whether you agree with what somebody says or not, you have to take it with a grain of salt and then say, I fucking hate Roseanne. I can't stand Roseanne. I'll never watch anything Roseanne does. Well, then that's great.
First Amendment doesn't exist, right?
Yeah,
you agree?
Kind of. I mean, there's stuff that shouldn't be said, but if you're trying to make a joke, then that's its own thing. So it was weird, though, because I watched her stand up. I actually hosted the show, and it was, I closed the show. But it was fascinating because she was doing anti-vax stuff. She was doing kind of, not QAnons, but like pretty conspiracy theory stuff. And I watched it, and it was so interesting to see the audience, because I live in New York. I used to live in Los Angeles. You did anti-vax stuff in New York.
Oh, God.
Well, New York's less. But Los Angeles, they would be like, get her off the stage. She's a danger to the society. We all watched her do these anti-vax jokes. And, like, some of them weren't funny. And so everybody in the audience like, and then the ones that are funny were like, that's true. That is ridiculous. And that's it. And it was so interesting to hear somebody say things that I didn't necessarily agree with. But I wasn't, that's not why she's on stage doing that. She's not there so that I'll come afterwards and be like, you're right. I've decided I'm not getting my children vaccinated. That's not the point. The point of it is she's doing jokes. If they're funny, fantastic. If not, big deal.
That's this piece of art, okay?
Yeah.
You might like it, you might not like. I like it. So a buddy of mine from Israel,
Well, but-
his wife is from Paris.
Yeah.
She does this art. And art, eye of a beholder. She's not going to
my
get
wife
criticized
said-
if somebody thinks it's shitty. They just don't like it. But you guys do art.
Yeah.
So it should be...
And my wife actually does real art. But the way that you can sort of see is that, you like this, right?
I do, yeah.
You're a poon.
Yeah.
And for people like me that are non-pooners, We don't. Can I start saying that? Non-pooners. For people that are non-pooners, I don't understand that art. I'm not smart enough, or I'm not cultured enough.
I'm not
to take
either.
it.
It's like the color combination.
No, but that's sort of what I'm saying. Is like it's so subjective. Exactly what you mean. That it's really not worth much time to spend sort of being up in arms about it. And it's a bummer because...
And my point is, fucking, we need to laugh more. There's too much bullshit going on in the world, right?
There's so much bullshit going on in the world. And for me, comedy is the only thing that I feel like everybody can get behind once they laugh. But if you go into it looking for a reason to get upset, then you're looking to have a bad time, which is very strange. And my parents live in Denver. Used to live in Hollywood, but I tour all over the country. And so it's always interesting for me to say I'm going to Alabama, and people in New York are like, what's it like there? And I'm like, it's fucking incredible. Like, really? Well, aren't they all Southern? I go, yeah. That's why it's incredible. The only place people go, you travel, you performed in Memphis, Tennessee? And I go, yeah, Nashville. What's Tennessee like? And everybody from the North goes, I mean, isn't it weird down there? I go, yeah. And they go, what about Florida? I go, Florida's terrible. Florida's a problem. They know that.
Well, the further you go down south, the more northern it gets, right?
I know.
It's so weird.
And then you're in Cuba.
Right.
You make your way down, and then you're in Miami. And in Miami, they'll straight up say, they're like, well, we're not part of Florida. I go, what? They're like, we're like our own country. I go, no, you're not. You're in Florida. They're like, yeah, we're in Florida, but like, we're not in Florida. I'm like, but you are. And then my favorite thing about Miami, this is so good. Interviews should involve drinking much more often.
They should, yeah. I've always said that.
In Miami, there's 3 ethnicities, just 3. There's Dominicans who speak too quickly and they need to relax and take it. Oh yeah, nosotros vamos a relax. Cubans who speak a lot slower because they're done working for the day, and then white people who are positive they're fluent in Spanish. And those are the most annoying people because they're the ones that are like, Miami's a different country and I speak.
Okay. Are you fluent in Spanish? Because that's another one of the things, I don't know if it's bullshit or not. True or false? Are you fluent in Spanish? And if so, did you assist surgeons in Peru?
Mira, este hombre ha leído un montón de mí. Es increíble porque vos es una persona que estudia, es claro que sí, pero además... divertido es muy importante para vos también y por eso nosotros estamos acá
muy bueno
tomando y nosotros somos puns.
What puns?
Estamos puñando.
Just tell me. Punando. I hated to get off of that.
Hemos punado.
That just, it triggered me to remember the fact that you were fluent. And I heard this story that you actually, did you in fact help surgeons translate in Peru? So how does that work?
So I went down there. I speak fluent castellano porque viví en Argentina por un tiempo, un año más o menos durante colegio. And so I went there. None of that makes any sense, by the way. I'm just basically going, Redmont Vodka, gluten free. No puñando. Pun, no pun. Pun sí, por favor. Pun favor. Pun favor is when you do a favor for a pun.
Yeah.
And you've been doing that for me.
I'm trying, but
it's getting done.
Is there not a story though?
Yes, of course. So
was somebody dying? Did you save a life?
Yeah, I would say. I saved one particular time. So I went down there. My mother took us down as a medical mission, so it's not religious. We went down there. I translated for the surgeons. She did psychology, and I translated for her. It was the first time. It was Ayacucho, which is the poorest part of Peru. And it got really hardcore. My wife came down with me, and she was a nurse and orderly and was running, she would run bandages and gauze and this. And there was one time, I saw some pretty grisly stuff, but there was one time when we were operating on a kid and he woke up. And he's sort of course, you come out of anesthesia and we've all come out of anesthesia and go, oh my God, but they're currently operating on him. And the doctor said, give him more anesthesia. And the anesthesiologist was like, he's had enough. And
apparently not.
But so what it is the anesthesiologist was like, we only have enough anesthesia, so I'm only going to give this kid this much because he's lucky that he's getting the surgery. And so I was in the middle of this crazy situation where an American doctor was yelling at me to tell this Peruvian anesthesiologist to give this kid, the kid's like 8 or something, more
What was the procedure? Do you have any idea?
It was a cleft lip, but they had also were working on something around his appendix because they were concerned that that was maybe going to rupture. And so I'm sitting here trying to like make sense of this situation, and finally we got the anesthesiologist to give him just enough that he was still there but not in pain. He wasn't like crying or screaming. And we got to the end of that, and both of the guys were so fucking mad at each other. But they both thanked me. And that was really interesting to have them both be like, you're a stupid piece of shit American doctor fucking asshole comes down here and he doesn't know. We don't have unlimited advantage with all you drug addict assholes up north. And then he's, you know, the American doctor's like, I don't know what the fuck this guy has. He doesn't care about children or something. He's a monster. He's a goddamn monster. But both of them kind of said, like, thanks for, like, working that out, because the kid in it. And the kid's surgery was successful. They removed the appendix just to make sure, because we only go down there once a year. And, yeah, it was a pretty intense experience. And I remember Kate and I, because she came with me the second year that I did it, I remember the two of us, we went back to the hotel afterwards, and it was like sometimes people would cry after, you know, you get home and drink and cry, and that was kind of the vibe. And we got back and we were drinking Pisco, which is the alcohol. It has gluten and it hasn't been distilled as much as Charles Barkley's vodka. and so we got back and we were kind of drinking, and she was sort of crying, and I was like, and then one of us said something and we just started laughing. It was like that moment where you're like, yeah, but wasn't that guy fucking weird? Remember when he said, we just both started cracking up. And that was a moment where I was like, wow, it is ingrained in human beings to use laughter against sort of the really tough, sad shit. And so I love that you said what you said, because you're right. It's like, the world, no matter where we are, you can say, oh, politics is a disaster, it's a garbage fire. That's what it always is. And humor and comedy really is like, it's the only healthy opiate.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're a sports fan at all, but like Jim Valvano, he won a national championship as a head coach for NC State, and they do the Jimmy V Foundation Cancer. But every year I watch his speech, and he talks about, you know, it's very important to use the emotions of laughter, you know, and crying every day in your life. Like, I don't think people laugh, and I don't think they cry enough. But you know, I'm
How
getting
much
old,
do you
man.
cry?
Not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost cried yesterday, but it was first time in forever.
Should we do it now together?
Well, see, you're the actor. But I tried to be an actor, by the way. Shit didn't
Did you
work
really?
out. Yeah, I went out to LA, moved out there. I lived in Westwood.
I feel like you would be great. But you know what it is about you?
What's that?
There's a lot of people that are like this. A lot of people that are personalities. I mean, you're a big, you know, you're a big star, but it's you, you know. And I think that is the thing about me, is I can change my voice enough. But if you see me in most films, it's really me. And so actors are usually asked to be somebody completely different than themselves. And if you can't connect to that, I find that actors usually kind of don't want to be themselves. But if it's like, I feel like the two of us are similar in that. If it's guys like us, it's like, that's what you want to bring to the table, because that's what you know more than anything else. So when you're talking about sports, you're interacting with callers, they want to talk to you. They don't want you to put on a different, this is me today, and this, you know what I mean?
100%.
And so you go out to be an actor.
Really good at, and I don't know if you have a relationship with him or if you guys hate each other. I have no idea. But I told you earlier, I think comedy is so difficult to do. But I wasn't a Seinfeld guy, but I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I think Larry David does such a great job with the improv.
It's hilarious.
And when they bring on guys like Vince Vaughn and just let them roll.
He's so funny. Dude.
Yeah, but you would be fucking incredible in that role. And I don't know why, like maybe he has come to you, I don't know, but you would be a perfect, with Jeff Garland and that cast, Cheryl Hines, would be incredible.
Last night, I was at dinner with one of the directors for Curb Your Enthusiasm. And
I didn't know this, by the way. We did not talk about this.
He and I were laughing and talking about that style of humor. And I think that's another interesting thing, too, because you and I probably have a lot of different tastes. Obviously, one of us was a real poon about the artwork. But Curb Your Enthusiasm is one of those things where everybody of a certain sort of sensibility comedically, you could all come together on how funny that is.
But he doesn't give a fuck about getting canceled. Like, he's the modern day Mel Brooks.
Yeah,
like,
that's
if you made Blazing Saddles right now.
Point. No, you couldn't make
Oh,
Blazing
it'd be
Saddles.
impossible.
Oh, and that is such a funny movie. Yeah, and then also Larry David, I'm glad you brought that up. Very nice of you to say that I would be good on that show.
No, you wouldn't be, though. I mean, I'm not bullshit.
But it also brings up something
bullshit.
that might make me cry. And I don't want to be a real... well, we all know what I don't want to be.
Larry David is a poon, but I love him.
He is a bit of a poon. He is a bit
He'll
of a
admit it,
poon.
though.
He will, of course. Yeah. But Larry David is the only comedian that Kate openly says is funnier than me. And she stalked him once. She saw him. She walked into a Blockbuster and pretended to be looking at the DVDs just so she could be close to him. Yeah. So every time he's brought up in conversation or during vodka sessions, then it makes me want to cry. But I'm not going.
But Larry David would not be able to get poon without his comedy, right? And I've seen Kate. I mean, you definitely outkicked the coverage, so to speak.
You know, sometimes people will say, they'll come to the show and go, "Oh, we love She's Out of My League. That's my favorite movie." And I'll be like, "Yeah, because you're living it. Look how much better your wife is than you." And they're like, "Yeah, you're right." And I'm like, "Yeah, look at my wife. I mean, that's what you need to be doing."
Yeah, that's living life, right?
Yeah. What about you? What's your sort of romantic situation?
Oh man, mine's complicated.
Are you being a poon about it?
Poon's what got me in trouble.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But you'll meet mine tonight.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. We got a great table here tonight. TJ Miller, you've been way too much fun, by the way.
This was great.
Never a poon, this guy right here. You got a website, I think it's something like I don't have a website.com.
TJ Miller does not have a website.com. Dear Jonah is my stand-up special, streaming right now on YouTube. If you like peanut butter, and I know you do.
Oh, who doesn't?
I have my own.
You like crunchy or the creamy?
Crunchy.
I do too.
And here's why.
But as a kid, I like just the smooth creamy.
But you became an adult.
I did.
Any adult who says that they only like creamy, smooth peanut butter is not prepared for the challenges that are going to come in their life, all right? So it's called TPB&J Peanut Better, and it's on Amazon.com. You can get it there. I also have my own line of hot sauce. I'm going to have to... The peanut butter you guys are going to get tonight, but I'm gonna send you guys some hot sauce just so you can, because I love, you seem like a hot sauce guy.
I am, but you know the problem, it fucks my stomach up. I love it. I ate sriracha this morning with breakfast. I don't know if I got acid reflux. I fucking get the shits. Yeah, it's terrible.
He's a poon.
He's a poon.
It's the only way to
Hey,
look
can
at
I
it.
challenge you to do one thing for me? We got a writer's strike going on. We got a bunch of bullshit going on in the world.
SAG strike is still going, the writer's strike. Pass that chicken cock over here.
Yeah, pass chicken cock.
Let's see some of that rooster dick.
I would love...
Give me some of that avian penis.
We did not get Curb until later in Larry David's life. I would appreciate you now. I think you were born in 81. Is that right?
I am born. I almost said I am born in 1981. That means you've had just enough of that gluten-free good stuff.
We've got glasses somewhere. Hold tight. We can just do it out of the bottle, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
You cool?
Yeah.
You can go first.
I have COVID. Yeah, I have COVID.
Hey, last time I met you, though, or the first time, I got pneumonia the week after the first time ever. So when I started doing mornings the week after, it's a pain in the ass.
Really?
Yeah, but I would like to challenge you to do your own show.
Yum.
Okay?
That's really good. That doesn't taste at all like rooster dick.
No, it's chicken cock.
Yeah. Tell you what.
Yeah, wow, that hits early.
I know. You know what, though? We should use the word cocked more. I was half cocked last night, man.
Yeah, that used to be I mean, people don't say half cocked
You know
anymore.
why? Because then they think half of a man's penis has been in your bottom.
Or they think that you are like taking some kind of shot at something gender-wise, being half a cock.
That's great. Non-binary people should call themselves half-cocked or no-cocked.
Are you
Not cocked?
Will you take up my challenge and do like a Netflix original series?
You know what? Okay, so I wrote this series.
Just call
Tell me what you
TJ.
think
Just
about
call
it.
TJ.
Tell me what you think about
Okay.
this. And I think I'm going to make it a movie instead. But I wrote a series called The Loneliest Megaplex.
But a movie, you're shorting people, in my opinion.
Why?
Because I think if you do a series, and you're right, 5, 6 seasons too long, you do like 3 seasons of quality 10 episodes, 30 episodes, 30, you can do 30 minutes, so we can do 15 hours or 30 hours. You give people more content, they can go back. I am watching for the 3rd time Game of Thrones with my son for the first time ever for him. But like that, Sopranos, some of these
that
things.
must be fun to watch him watching it.
It's incredible.
That's great.
But I mean, there are some scenes in there.
It's a little,
a little
There's
much.
too much dragon towards the end of it.
There is too much dragon. I agree with that. Khaleesi hot though. Right?
Khaleesi is
Good
very
poon?
gorgeous. I prefer dragon poon because when your penis is enveloped by a dragon poon, it becomes stars and then fire and then it returns.
We're
to
in the golden
pelvis.
era of television. I would just say that as much as I love film, you in television being able to create a series that would be multiple seasons, it would just hang around forever, and I think you could really make people stay. Can I say something about you too?
Please.
So I met this guy.
This feels like we're at a bar at like 12:45 a.m., 1:15 a.m.
We don't know where we are. Look, there's no fucking windows.
We are completely in what would be a boardroom. Almost.
No, like when I met you through a girl named Shiloh, and I don't know if she's still in the market or not.
Dude, I just saw her. Before this, she produces the morning show that I went on, and I was at her house last night with her husband, her second husband, who they have an 8-month-old boy.
Oh wow, good.
And I held him. They trusted me to hold him, and I got to tell you, I said that I hadn't been drinking. The truth is, I hadn't been drinking a lot. I just left out the a lot. What's the big deal? If you don't drop a baby, then it doesn't matter how much you. In fact, if you've been drinking a little bit and you don't drop a baby, I feel like you should be commended for that.
I might make you cry here or people watching cry because you're this big personality. You make people laugh all the time. But Shiloh told me the first time I met her when I was meeting you.
I love Birmingham.
She told me that her mom had a terminal disease.
Yeah.
And you came and you performed a one-man show when she was in hospice at her bedside.
Yeah.
That makes me want to cry, I swear to God, man, because my dad went through that shit like 18 months ago. And I was at his side when he died. And we didn't have a great relationship early on because he was one of those guys that liked poon. He was out running around.
Yeah.
But I was by his side when he passed away. And it was really, really sad to be in that situation. But for you to bring laughter to her, which I heard you did, is fucking awesome.
Yeah, and Kate and Shiloh are best friends. We all went to college together. I've known Shiloh since.
Shout out
we were
GW.
college. Yeah, GWU. And so we wanted to be here for her during that time. And yeah, her mother was going in and out. It was brain cancer. And I basically, said, well, let me kind of do some of my stuff, for you. I didn't do like a full stand-up, but it is sort of what you said. It was sort of a one-man show in the sense that I talked a little bit of this. I'm joking. I'm making fun of Shiloh. I'm making fun of her dad. And you could really feel that her mother was laughing. And even though she would go in and out, throughout, not all, but she was really present when she was laughing. And I think it's to your point, what you were just talking about, which is if you can do nothing, then making somebody laugh or making light of it is really something.
Yeah, if anybody ever gives you bullshit, you are such an important part of our society, making motherfuckers laugh.
Tell you what I'm going to tell him. I'm going to tell him this motherfucker said quit being a poon.
Hey, great to see you, brother. We're about to go in the other room and do a little trash on the table. 444-0008, stardome.com. He doesn't have a website. This guy's about to write a scripted series called TJ. It's going to be on Netflix 2025. Can't wait for that motherfucker.
Will you be on it?
Fine, bring me.
What would your what part would you like to play in it?
I don't care. I mean, you just bring me around. I'll be Leon on Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'll move in. I'll fucking never move out.
I was gonna say be this in the series. I love this. Every time I come to Birmingham, it's just us hanging out, and then at one point I can't find my way out of the studio. I've gotten too drunk.
No, that's good, man.
So
that's
then I
why we
just
put no
live here.
windows. Hey, this is like a Vegas casino. There's no clocks. There's no windows, but there's plenty of alcohol. That's what we do here.
And just enough poon.
And a little art.
And a little bit of art.
TJ
Which
Miller,
I like, actually.
Redmont Vodka. I got in plenty of it. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Last call, Redmont Vodka.
Stay half cocked, no cocked, or all cocked.